It's Friday, February 14th, 2020. Digital Trends Live is about to start. Here are some of the topics we're covering on today's episode of the show, including this. The battle between the U.S. Department of Justice and Huawei just got a lot more heated as the DOJ has officially charged the company with conspiracy to violate the RICO Act. And we'll be talking about the streaming wars today with Netflix dropping a new trailer for Stranger Things Season 4, answering a key question about the ending of Season 3. Spoilers. And we've got some great guests on the show today, including Jeff Alholm from Digital Aerolis, discussing the emerging commercial and industrial market for drones. And it's a very bittersweet day here on Digital Trends Live, as we'll have the very last segment of Between the Streams with our own Ryan Juanita before he leaves the company to further his tech adventures elsewhere. I know it's Valentine's Day, and I'm sorry if I just broke your heart. We'll try to make up for it on today's episode of Digital Trends Live. Stay strong. Hello, everyone. This is Digital Trends Live. Thank you for joining us. We broadcast live here every weekday, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern, bringing you trending tech headlines, news, interviews, discussions, and so much more. All we're broadcasting live across a number of different platforms. We're on Periscope, Twitter, Twitch, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, Dailymotion, Apple News, 2 different mobile apps, a smart television app, and at digitaltrends.com/live. So wherever you're finding us, you can join in the conversations that we get to have, which are myriad and fun. So thanks for joining us. I'm Greg Nibbler, here with Mr. Caleb Dennison.
Good morning, Greg.
Good morning, Caleb.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Thank you very much. I wouldn't want to spend it with anybody else but you. Right?
I wanted to give you a hug, but I felt like, there's just too much
distance between us. Well, it's more of a will they or won't they kind
I got you some chocolates, though.
This is what we want to tease the people with, so stick around. Who
For
knows
reals.
what'll happen. All right, let's get started, though. Let's talk about some trending tech headlines because there is, as usual, a lot to get to. And this first one has to do with the ongoing battle between the U.S. Department of Justice and Huawei. So this is something that's been going on for quite a while. We know that they've been going back and forth. The U.S. has banned Huawei from certain projects, banned their technology from U.S. companies. And now we have this. This is the biggest one yet. And it is the U.S. Department of Justice has charged Huawei under the Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act. That's RICO. If you've ever watched any movie about gangsters, you know what the RICO Act is. That's something that they always threaten them with. And that's what they're actually using on Huawei right now. And it relates to different things that they are saying Huawei has done regarding espionage, regarding stealing other companies' secrets. There's a list of different actual accusations that they have, saying that it's they misappropriated intellectual property, specifically from 6 U.S. tech companies. And they didn't mention the names of the tech companies in that, but you can probably guess who some of them are based on previous allegations. But it's a pretty big move. It's a big move.
I mean, they've been saying that China would want to steal U.S. State secrets by using their equipment. I mean, that's why they've banned, and this is a big deal. We are way behind on 5G deployment because Huawei makes the infrastructure equipment that makes 5G possible. They're one of the 3 biggest telecoms companies or manufacturers that make the telecom equipment for 5G, which is why the U.S. is so far behind in getting 5G deployed. But it's all in the name of safety. Obviously, if they can use that equipment to gather information, we wouldn't want them to do that. So I feel like until now it's been, we know that you're doing it, we're not going to let you, we're going to prohibit it any way that we can. Now they're getting very specific in saying you stole this information from these people and now we're going to make it official and slap you with the Uncle Rico thing from Napoleon Dynamite.
But I could throw a football over that mountain. Anyway,
that's right.
That is it's a big charge, and it's one more thing I guess in this whole battle between them. Whether it's like sometimes you think about maybe they could move this back, maybe they'll come up with a solution. Putting this charge on there, that's not something you can really take back really easily.
No.
So this is an official statement saying, no, we're going forward with charges. This isn't going to work out. There's not going to be a happy ending to all of this. Huawei is now in the crossfires of this DOJ indictment, and it's a move. We'll have to see what the ramifications are, but I guess, really, I think that's kind of what it is. What you look out further is that this isn't something that's going to get resolved.
What surprises me is that the accusations of attempting to attain data go back all the way to the year 2000. I mean, this is almost a 20-year deal. So it's not like they just whipped this up and decided to throw it out there. They've been monitoring for almost 20 years. And now they're finally making it official. I don't know where it's going to go from here. I don't know how much teeth this has, but obviously a line in the sand has been drawn once again.
Definitely, and we've got a list too at digitaltrends.com of what some of the charges were. Just a quick example, they claimed that a Huawei engineer improperly used their badge to get into a competitor's company's lab and then take pictures. So a lot of it is taking pictures and stealing secrets from companies. So a lot to kind of unravel with that, and I'm sure we'll get more information as the day goes on and as the weeks go on with these charges, but you can always follow it at digitaltrends.com.
One thing's for sure, if you were holding out any hope that one day you could actually buy a Huawei phone in the U.S., you can just forget about it.
I already have one.
Well,
never mind, I shouldn't have admitted that on the show. All right.
No wonder we've been compromised,
They're
Greg.
listening to you right now.
Thanks.
All right, continue on here with the show. Let's talk about some other trending news. And this has to do with the big releases coming out from Microsoft and PlayStation, with the new consoles coming out later this year, the Xbox Series X, and then the PlayStation 5. In particular, PlayStation is what we're talking about right now, because it appears that Sony's having an issue with the pricing in getting it below $500. So they're making a pretty, I mean, based on everything that we've seen and everything that they've revealed, the actual console itself is going to be really powerful. They're going to use a solid-state drive. They're going to have the next generation AMD GPUs. So really a lot of top-of-the-line stuff, the kind that supports ray tracing and all of that. But it turns out all that equipment really costs a lot, even for the manufacturer, even if you're making them at a giant scale like this. So right now, it's estimated $450 just to build the thing.
Right.
So $500 is probably what they would have to sell to make any kind of profit on it. And I guess it comes to that question of, when a new console comes out, how much are you willing to pay? And that's something that I'm really curious to hear some answers from, of what, I know everybody likes to get the new thing, but at $500, and that's just for the console. That's not including the games. I mean, maybe they'll have some kind of bundle that'll come out too, but if you imagine that, you're going to be paying probably $60, $70 a game.
At least, yeah. I mean, it costs $60 to get a game right now.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's going to be going down.
No.
It'll probably actually go up if it goes anywhere at all. But you know what? I got to be honest with you. I'm not super surprised to hear this, because if you think about building a PC, if you went out there and you bought the parts and built your own PC that was capable of a gaming experience equivalent to what the PS5 or the Series X from Microsoft would provide, you're going to spend about that much money, and then you got to put it together yourself. So, I mean, we're talking about really next-gen graphics from these consoles. The solid-state drive alone is known to be expensive. The supply has been really dodgy. Like, you get it in waves, and so that's very inconsistent. So you have to buy them in big lots, hope they get delivered on time, put them all together. I mean, I know that in the past, Sony has just decided, okay, this PlayStation is going to be a loss leader, meaning we're going to lose money on it. We know that, but we're going to make our money back on software and services. They're going to subscribe to our various different platforms, whether it's PS View or the game streaming stuff.
No PS View anymore, though.
Yeah, and that's gone.
Yeah.
So they have fewer services to market and fewer ways to make money on the back end. So they're either going to have to suck it up and take another loss, or they're going to have to push this thing over $500. And to me, $500, that's a line. Like, you think about the holidays, personally for me, Christmas, like if I have to spend $600 to get a new console, that's pretty much Christmas for everybody, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's a big chunk of change. I know that the die-hard console gaming fans are probably going to spend whatever they have to spend to get it, but
I mean, if you want the newest of the newest, and I'm sure it's going to be an amazing console. I think they both will be, based on what we've seen. They're going to be very powerful and fairly future-proof if everything does play out like this, but yeah, $500 though. I mean, how many people will there be doing that, and how many will just wait?
And
wait another year or two.
Exactly. And here's the other thing. This is kind of a bigger picture deal. With so much going to cloud gaming, when you talk about 5G and the possibility of putting all of the heavy lifting in the cloud, so all the processing, all the graphics and everything happens in the cloud at some big server farm, and it just delivers the game to you lightning fast, no latency at 5G. Like, do you really need the console anymore? Like, I don't know. This may be the last big console, and if it does turn out to be a huge financial loss for Sony, I'm pretty sure that could spell the death of the console.
Yeah, we'll have to see, because you're right. Everything's kind of changing with this, and cloud gaming is a definite threat. So you can read more about this, though, at digitaltrends.com. DigitalTrends.com. And I know we need to get through some other news stories here because we've got a lot to cover on today's show. But this one I just thought was interesting. It's a trending story right now. It has to do with Facebook putting out another app. So they have an entire department just developed to just put out apps to see if they work or not. So this is actually a section of Facebook, and they put out one called Hobbi, Hobbi, which is essentially a Pinterest competitor. So it pretty much mimics how Pinterest works. And they put this out in 4 countries at first, and then it just is now rolling out to the United States, at least for iOS apps. And it was made such a big wave, just the fact that they put this out, that actually dropped Pinterest stock 4% just on the news that Facebook had put out this app kind of a little bit undercover to compete with Pinterest. I think that shows Facebook's power. Number one,
for sure.
Just the fact that they could drop stock 4%. I don't know if this is going to be popular. I'll be honest, I am not a Pinterest user. I have a Pinterest account, but I have never actually it's just not my thing. So,
all of my best cinnamon roll recipes are on Pinterest right now.
See, so there we go. So you are a Pinterest user, which also explains why.
Not really.
Right now, and this is according to this report that I was reading, is Pinterest is actually the 3rd largest social media network in the U.S. right now.
Yeah.
Because so many people are on it. So you can see the value there.
To be honest with you, I'm surprised that Facebook didn't just buy Pinterest, like they just bought Instagram. Why try and develop your own thing to compete when somebody else has clearly gotten it on lock? Just buy them.
Pinterest by Facebook. I can totally see that.
Fold it right on in. I'm surprised they didn't do that.
Maybe they've tried and Pinterest wasn't interested.
Yeah, but despite the fact that they managed to drop the stock, I think that's more of a scare thing. I don't know that Hobbi, is it called? I don't know that it's going to be that competitive.
Hobbi. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if it is or not.
Hobbi.
I think it's just another one of those things too, where they're where we're looking at it, as more companies are doing that. Oh yeah, it's being noted too that could be an antitrust thing if they have too many, which is true. They are coming under fire for having WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook.
Yeah.
So maybe that could be part of it as well.
They can't they can't just buy it anymore.
They could afford it, but they can't.
Yeah, but they can't do it without coming under scrutiny.
Yeah, so we'll have to see. And that's not the only one that they've gone after. They've put out some other apps too, trying to compete with TikTok. They haven't been able to make any headway in that. They've tried 2 different times apparently to put out apps and try to go after TikTok, and it has not worked. They also tried to go after some other companies too, because what they'll do is like Snapchat with the Stories feature. That was a direct play on Snapchat of just taking what Snapchat was doing and put it on there, and it worked. It worked. They took people away from Snapchat because they added those features on. So they pay attention to what everybody else is doing.
Oh, for
they'll
sure.
take what will work for them.
Yep.
Yeah. So we'll have to see where this one goes. But let us know if you're going to be trying that or if Hobbi is something that you want to utilize. But expect more apps coming out from Facebook. They said that they expect actually a lot of them to fail, but they're just going to try it anyway. So they're going to be going after everybody. Read more about that at digitaltrends.com. And just another big trending story here right now. You've probably seen it by now, but in case you haven't, Netflix has dropped a Stranger Things Season 4 trailer. So when you talk about the streaming wars, you really got to look at Stranger Things as kind of the thing that everybody wants to emulate. Everybody wants their own Stranger Things. And Season 4 dropping right now. It did. Okay, I'm going to say this. If you haven't seen Season 3, there's a spoiler. You've had a lot of time to watch it. Just plug your ears for a minute. He's back.
Yep.
The sheriff's back.
I'm kind of surprised that they did it this way. I would have thought that they would have drawn out the question a little bit longer.
I would think too, yeah.
But at the same time, I'm also super stoked. Like, this got me very, very jazzed.
I mean, you knew he wasn't gone. There's no way they're going to get David Harbour.
They're not going to kill Hopper, and apparently they didn't. There he is, right at the very end at some kind of Russian labor camp.
Yep. The gulags, yeah.
Somehow, and I guess I will say, I'm excited to see, like, as they continue the story, how it is that they snatched him out before the big explosion went down that supposedly killed him at the end of Season 3. But yeah, I'm excited. I mean, I was already excited for Stranger Things Season 4, but now I'm ready. Bring it out.
Yeah, and there's no release date on it yet, but I would expect it'll be probably before too long if they're starting to roll out these teasers. Maybe waiting until summer. For the release, but it's going to be in the next few months for sure.
Remember when House of Cards was what everybody was trying to emulate? And now we're at Stranger Things, and everybody wants to have their own Stranger Things. What a shift from a serious political scandalous drama, which was apparently scandalous in real life.
I'm just a humble senator from South Carolina.
That's right. Now we're back to this retro 80s sort of. Yeah. I love it. I think it's great.
It's pretty great. So Stranger Things season 4, the trailer is out, and we'll have something written up too, kind of recapping the other seasons if you want to take a look at that, all at digitaltrends.com. All right, last thing here before we go to break is just kind of a trending moment of the day. This is something that's trending online. I wanted to bring it to you. There's a lot of, news that isn't that much fun that's out there right now. This one is pretty great. So Christina Koch is the astronaut who spent 328 days in space, the longest time ever spent in one run by a woman, and she is now back. Of course, she landed. She's finally coming back home, and she released a video showcasing her dog when she got home after not seeing her for 328 days. There's a video out there of it, and that's what we just wanted to showcase, is talking about that as the trending moment of the day. And you can follow along and find that on Twitter, wherever you are watching the internet.
It's supposed to be a feel-good day. All the good feels, and this will definitely give it to you. If you're not in the mood,
that's the tease for it. Yeah.
Definitely go and check it out.
So you can find that at digitaltrends.com. Just go look that up. All right, let's do this. Let's go to a break. And what we're going to do is we're going to come back. We're going to do some Read 'em and Weep. We're going to talk about some more trending moments from online and from the internets, and maybe some comments directly directed towards us. So we're going to address those coming up next. Stick around, back in a minute with more Digital Trends Live. Welcome back to Digital Trends Live. I'm Greg Nibbler. Thank you for joining us. It's now time for Read 'em and Weep. To do so with me here, I have Caleb Dennis.
You know this is my favorite time of the week.
I know it is. And
I enjoy it so much.
We take a look at some of the trending comments from around the internet, and we address them directly to you right now. And maybe we'll even answer some questions that come through across our platforms. We don't see these ahead of time until right now when we start this segment, so we get to address them directly. I want to say hi to Shref on Twitter. Thanks for joining in. Wherever you're watching, we do appreciate that. With the comments that come through, and we do like this because we are live and we can see those. All right, Robin is your Valentine. What's your mother's maiden name? Your favorite color? Last 4 digits.
I see.
Gotcha. I see what's going on. There. Okay. Yeah. So Robin is your Valentine. Right. Thank you.
Yeah, just wants to go ahead and hack you, I guess.
I think that's it.
I don't know what the origin for this was.
I'm not sure what the origin is either, but I am seeing that is something that is...
That is a comment that happened on Twitter.
That's a comment that happened on Twitter. We're now purred. You have said something to me. Miak, patient, do you have a date for Valentine's Day? Yes, February 14th, Singles Awareness Day.
This is a weird day, I think.
It's a strange day.
For folks that don't have a significant other to just sort of like roll their eyes and vomit over what all the couples are doing, what are you going to do?
Why they invented whiskey. All right.
Yeah, exactly.
Kurt Zimmerman, regarding Samsung Galaxy Z Flip hands-on. Feels like the original Segway, impressive engineering feat, but who cares? Ooh, hot take, Kurt.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Do you agree or not?
I don't agree. I kind of think the Z Flip is a cool cool, it's got a lot of cool factor.
It does.
The Segway never had cool factor. It was the opposite of cool. And I think the form factor is different. How you use it is a little bit different. I thought it's a clever idea. Is it practical? Is it better than the S20 Ultra? Nah.
Yeah.
I mean, given that they're almost the same price, I would buy the phone that has like the hot rod specs. But for coolness factor, like people like cool stuff. So I think Samsung made a smart move with that. Absolutely, like slam dunk the new Razr. You know?
Yeah, definitely, because they're $100 less already. Yeah, coming in on that. I mean, I think it is cool. I like it. I don't think I'm going to pay $1,400 for it.
No, I'm not.
That's not going to happen.
But that doesn't mean it's not cool.
No, it is cool. All right, just saying Alberta. All right, regarding that best electric snowblowers for 2020, spoiler alert, there aren't any. The end. Okay. All right. Not a big fan of the snowblowers, Alberta, and you probably do have to deal with some snow, I'm going to imagine.
If that's Alberta, Canada, I can see somebody who's like, there is no device that makes this not suck, and I'm with you. I imagine that must be terrible. The few times that I have had to like snow shovel the driveway or clear out the path so that I could actually leave or just go get the mail, it stunk, dude.
Yeah.
I'm just not built for that. I'm glad that we don't get a lot of snow.
No, we don't have to deal with it too much here, but I would definitely get it.
So yeah, fair point.
Vernon Simpkins regarding the Matrix 4, everything we know about the upcoming Matrix sequel. There's a Matrix sequel. Okay, Vernon, let me just address something right there, because I agree the first Matrix was great. The second one, third one, I have never made it through without falling asleep.
Really?
I've never made it through the third Matrix without falling asleep.
Wow.
I've tried 3 times. I have fallen asleep 3 times. That's how much I enjoyed that movie.
That's terrible.
Yeah.
Last time I watched Matrix 3 was on a plane, and I did indeed fall asleep.
See?
So
That's what I'm saying.
I understand what you mean. But I
don't even know how it ended. I know there were like the weird twins and I don't know, stuff happened. And
yeah, stuff happened. It's amazing how much stuff happened. I would say go ahead and make the next Matrix. And if it's an absolute bomb, just be done.
Yeah.
Just be done.
Yeah.
Give it up.
I mean, Keanu is on his Keanu Essence right now, coined by Mr. Ryan Juanita. That was his term, so I just got to make sure I give the copyright credit. But
sure.
Still, we'll see. Maybe Keanu can pull it off. All right, Bob Holly Jr. regarding fake news. AI algorithm reveals political bias in the stories you read. For some reason, I would not trust an algorithm with that judgment call. Kind of depends on how it's being utilized, really. I mean, I suppose if it's using an algorithm to like actually go search out a whole bunch of different stories and then kind of get the mean in there, that might actually be a good use of it.
Yeah, I think maybe the problem that he's pointing out is like with the way the news works right now, where somebody breaks a story and then everybody else copies it, and doesn't necessarily fact check it. If it's fact checking against other stories or weighing it based on the popularity of the story, I can see how the AI would get that wrong.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, as humans, we're doing a pretty poor job of it.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure that the AI we're programming would necessarily do a better job.
That's true. I guess it is who's programming it. That's a good point. Well, we'll have to see.
No pot shots at me this week.
No pot shots.
I'm a little bit disappointed.
Look at that.
Maybe it's because I put the smack down so hard last.
That's true. Everybody's scared. They're all circulating in their Reddit forums about you right now.
You know,
when circulating it like, don't mess with Caleb.
When I get it wrong, I'll admit it. All right,
So-
maybe next time, maybe next week. I'll look forward to that.
All right, we'll try to stir it up. All right, and thank you everybody for joining us here on Digital Trends Live. We do appreciate it. We've got a lot coming up here on the show today on this very special Valentine's Day edition. Can't even say it. I was just so broken up right there. I'm worried about Ryan Juanita leaving. So let's talk about this. We've got coming up, we've got Pamela Weber who's going to be joining us. We have Ciara Pressler for another work-life edition. But coming up next, we have Ann Ahola Ward, the CEO of CircleClick. So we're going to talk to her about their platform and some of the different innovative things that she's seeing in the marketplace. But before we go to break, thank you, Caleb.
You're so welcome. Happy
you
Valentine's Day once again.
Yes, indeed.
Or Valentine's Day.
Valentine's Day. It depends on where it's at. That's the European way they say it. I'm pretty sure. We're big in Belgium. All right, let's take a break. Back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live. Welcome back to Digital Trends Live. Thanks for joining us. Hit subscribe on whatever platform you're on. That way you get notifications when we go live, and you can share the show from there. And of course, we like to talk about trending technology. And to do that, we like to bring on technology experts. And that's what we're doing right now. Joining us, we have Anna Ward, who is the CEO of CircleClick. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me this morning.
I want to talk about some of the trends that you're seeing, and get your perspective on that for 2020 and concerns about privacy. But before we do all that, can we give everybody just kind of a definition of CircleClick itself?
Sure. We're a digital agency, all things SEO, all things analytics. I'm an expert in lead generation and scaling and growing startups.
So, and you have such a storied career, in both innovation and entrepreneurship and in technology. So it's really nice to get somebody's opinion like that, and with such a vast array of knowledge. So talking about 2020, as we're getting into the year here, we've seen some trends already. We've seen some things, from Samsung, from CES. But given the rest of this year, what are some of the big tech trends that you're seeing from your perspective?
Well, I think a new tech trend that is going to last is definitely a deeper concern about privacy. I think a lot of people are starting to kind of realize what's been taken away from them, and in terms of their information and how other companies are utilizing it. And so I think that we're actually going to see consumers start to pay a little bit more attention this year in terms of asking questions, maybe hopefully hesitation when it comes to downloading the new Face app or whatever it is. But hopefully people will start to become smarter consumers when it comes to giving away information.
So when it comes to that, and I think, slowly people are starting to realize like how much information is out there and how valuable that is and how much companies are getting that from you. What are some different things that they can do actually to maybe help mitigate some of those concerns or maybe take some of that control back to themselves?
Well, I think it's a fundamental shift that has to come from you in deciding, okay, I think that this phone is a thing that gives me information. I think people really need to start realizing that the phone is actually there to take information from you just as much, if not more so. So making that sort of mindset of, okay, do I need to give this new app I've never heard of access to my photos, my contacts, all of my Rolodex? Does that really make sense? And so I think just a hesitation when granting access within apps is a good start. Turning off that GPS when you don't need it, just sort of being a little more conservative in how you're spending the time.
So kind of shifting the paradigm of understanding, I think that's a good analogy there. Like the phone is taking information from you rather than giving information at the same time, but it's definitely a give and take situation. Okay, so looking from there and talking about, the privacy going forward, any other big trends that you see coming from the company side of things? Now we're talking about consumers understanding, that they need to be concerned about giving away data. Do you see anything as a trend by the companies, some of the big companies that are taking this data now that they understand people know what they're doing?
The jig is up. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think Brave is really the exemplary company when it comes to privacy at this point in time, because they're actually giving people money for their time and attention. Brave and Firefox are two web browsers. Just by switching to them, you dramatically increase your privacy when searching the web. You're also able to, if you're savvy enough to set it up, you can actually gain attention tokens from Brave, so earn money for your time. And I think that's a trend we're going to start to see, where companies are going to just pay you directly for your time and attention versus just sort of these backdoor deals, which is how things have gotten done for the entire history of the internet.
I love that idea. I want to get paid for that part of it. I mean, who doesn't, right? Okay, so talking about that too, and that's an interesting move from some of these companies if they're going to be doing that. On your personal side, since you have so much knowledge on so many different things when it comes to tech privacy, what are some different things that you've changed maybe over this last year in your own personal habits with apps and online information now that you know how much data is being taken?
I pretty much wait for any new app to install it for at least a couple weeks, which is hard because you see people sharing things or whatever. So just that hesitation I was referring to, definitely. I actually carry two phones, and one has social media on it and one does not. And so I actually do not share, I don't have Facebook on any of my phones now either. So it's more about taking things away than adding things, definitely. I would also, I've started using a VPN In cases where, I feel like I'm on a weird network, I also am very hesitant to get on Wi-Fi networks that I don't know, like the airport, places where there could be large amounts of people who might have bad intentions.
Yeah, and that's certainly something to be concerned with. I think, for people going forward, is that one of the habits that you would recommend people kind of adopt is be wary of any kind of Wi-Fi network that you're going to be getting onto? If it's a private, fine, but the airport, maybe avoid it, or should everybody get a VPN?
Well, VPN definitely, I would recommend just looking into it because with net neutrality being overturned, it has allowed ISPs carte blanche with your data to take it, resell it, show you ads. VPN does give you a little bit of security, but specifically in an airport, most phones that are modern phones will tether. So I would recommend tethering to your own smartphone from any kind of questionable area where, maybe a plane, where there's train stations, places that you don't feel like you're as comfortable. I would definitely recommend just tethering directly to your own phone.
Another thing, looking at trends too, just because of we've talked about the individual, we're talking about consumer or commercial organizations, but there's also governmental organizations. You have like California with the CCPA, I think I've got the acronym right, but that's where it's essentially, yeah, I get them mixed up sometimes. But CCPA, and that's where it's the essentially individual rights management, where you have a right to your data. And California passing that has a big effect because it's such a huge state, and there's you got Silicon Valley there. But do you see other states or maybe other governments starting to adopt something like that as well?
Absolutely. I think in California we're kind of used to being the trailblazers in this way, and we all know that GDPR didn't really do as much as we expected it to do. So I think we're going to continue to see legislation from trailblazing states like California, but also other kind of more rogue states like Wyoming has passed a tremendous amount of laws enabling blockchain, and they're very progressive, and so I'm definitely keeping my eye on them.
Nice. Well, I want to say thank you very much for joining us here too, just to have this conversation. We like to talk to technology experts who are following all of these things and get advice, which is what we just did. Is there anywhere that you'd like me to send people just to follow along with what you do?
I basically live on Twitter, ANNEBOT, Annbot at everything can find me.
Nice, and good snag on that handle. All right. Well, thank you very much for joining us here. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
All right, so fun conversation, learning about technology, right? And talking about trends, and that's the name of the game, digital trends. So figuring out what's going to be happening this year in different ways that we can help maybe change what we're doing. All right, coming up next, we have another segment of Work Life, but this one is a very special love segment. It's Ciara Press who's going to join us to talk about love and the workspace, and how do you balance all of that if that's what's going on in your life. It's a complicated situation, so she's going to walk us through it. So stick around. Back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live. Welcome back to Digital Trends Live. Thanks for joining us here. We appreciate everybody who joins in every single day that we are live, which is every weekday. It's 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern. Hit the subscribe button. But right now, it's time for a special segment of Work Life because it's Valentine's Day, so I think it's Work Life Love? I'm not sure. We're going to get into it right now. We've got Ciara Pressler to talk about it. Hello.
Hi. Happy Valentine's Day.
Thank you. Same to you.
I can't believe how many secret admirers are sending stuff to pregame today.
Oh,
Hint,
really?
hint.
Okay. I see what you're doing right there.
Yeah.
I mean, I got a lot too at Digital Trends Live. So many. Like, there's just so
much
many.
stuff.
So many secret admirers sent me stuff.
Wait, I have to tell you this because it's amazing.
Okay.
I was swiping Tinder last night, as one does when they're bored at home at night, and an ad for my own business came up that I didn't know we were running ads there. And I was like, and this is why I'm not dating, because I work too much and scene.
Isn't that the chick that was just in the ad? Like, what the hell?
I swiped right on my own business.
Good.
So
I mean, yeah.
it's a match.
It'd be surprise, it's a match. All right. Well, that's amazing. Let's do this. To start off this segment, I know we always have a video because you have people send in their questions, which they can always do. Why don't we play that to kind of set this up and just understand what it is that we're talking about here with this segment?
Hey, Ciara, so we have a question for you. So we started a business, and sometimes it's hard to work with family. Do you have any advice for us?
Okay, so we're talking about love, the workspace, working with somebody. So kind of set this up for us.
All right, so, sometimes you have started a business with your family member, like a sister, maybe your sibling, your spouse. I have a lot of clients that run their business with their significant other, their life partner. So how do you do it when you are life partners and work partners? Maybe you got your best friend a job, but whoa, your best friend has a totally different personality at work than they do when you're out at the bar or hanging out on the weekend. And so how do you keep both relationships intact? That's
such a complicated thing, it feels like, because once you blur all those lines, and you're all involved in every aspect of somebody's life, what's like the first step that you need to do to like understand how that can actually work?
Well, you hit it on the head. It's define where those lines are.
Yeah.
Know when you're wearing which hat. So I really learned about this when I was working for a company run by two sisters. And then I worked for a company run by two brothers. And so I have a lot of experience with this. So know when you're wearing which hat. And the two sisters did such a great job, and they had actually hired a coach to help them with this.
Really?
Of knowing, like, at work, you're the CEO, I'm the COO, and those are the hats we're wearing, and we're going to communicate with each other professionally, and that's how we're going to be. On the weekends, when we're hanging out, we're sisters, and we don't need to wear those business hats. Now, I know sometimes if you're a couple, you live together, you're going to be talking about business stuff, like in bed at night, not too sexy, but sometimes it has to be done. But be aware of what the boundaries are and set those boundaries and define them together.
Be like, this is business talk time, this is not. And
Yeah.
then just shut that down at certain moments.
Right.
So like really set the hard boundaries.
Yes, and maintain the time together because your work time's already scheduled. That's going to happen. But make sure you're also scheduling time together for that date night. Friend dates, significant other dates, and make a boundary that you're not going to talk about business on that date.
Okay, so that's good. So understanding that and making sure that both people stick to that no matter what the relationship is. That's probably a difficult one, but something that everybody needs to be on the same page with.
Yes, because you want to preserve the work relationship, but the life relationship is so much more important. That one can't be replaced. So that has to be priority. But don't bring it into the workplace because especially if you have other people who work with you.
Oh, yeah.
Super cringy.
Ooh.
It's so uncomfortable to work for two family members, like especially if they're your bosses.
Yeah.
They start bickering or they start. And it's like, nobody likes it. Don't think that your employees are like not thinking it's that big of a deal. They hate it. I promise you. They're just not telling it to you.
Oh, I bet. I mean, I'm cringing just even thinking about that. I always think of that thing in The Office where Michael's dating Jan. It's just really, really uncomfortable for everybody.
Yeah, The Office is full of HR problems.
Yeah.
It's a great show, but
That office would have been shut down. So many lawsuits.
Yeah.
But going from there to, okay, so defining these roles, making sure you don't bring that personal life into the workspace because nobody else wants to see that. It's a workspace for everybody.
Yeah, and be careful how much work you bring home if you live with that business partner as well.
So define those. What's another thing that people can do?
Define your roles. So this is what we've been working on at pregame in our group sessions this week is writing down your roles and responsibilities. So especially if you're the founder or you and somebody else like started a project together, even if it's a side hustle, you probably never took the time to write down your job description, who's in charge of what, who's ultimately responsible for managing. And sometimes you just kind of rely on telepathy to know who's doing what. If you really define it and have quarterly reviews with yourself, with the other person, and evaluate what's going well and what isn't. Otherwise, things build up, things get pushed under the rug. It's all about communication.
Yeah, so communicate. That is one of the big...
I mean, really, it all boils down to communication, right? And making sure you're communicating in a healthy way. So just learning some of those basics, emotional intelligence, giving difficult feedback, making sure you understand that I love you as a person, but this job issue might be something else.
Right. I don't want this to become something else, so this needs to be addressed.
Yes.
Right now. Okay. Any other advice that you have for that?
Just keep being conscious about the relationship. If you need to bring in a third party to mediate a conversation or to get some more coaching on how to work together and make it all work, it's worth the investment. Yeah,
and I love that idea of getting coaching for that too, because like we're doing right here, you just got a little sample of that. Yeah. But Sarah, where can people go get more coaching for this kind of situation?
Follow on Twitter, Pregame Mag. Follow the hashtag PregameHQ. We're on Instagram, LinkedIn, all those good things. And if you're in Portland, come to Pregame for lunch today. We're having a lunch for work-life partners to talk about these issues and what makes it all work and meet other people who are in your same situation.
Awesome. And it's a great time to send her a secret admirer Valentine's Day gift.
Our address is on Google. Just Google Pregame and send flower. I probably should.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Again, this is Work Life, and we've got lots of back episodes of this for you to watch and learn from. And thank you, Sarah. Always amazing having you in here. Always learn something. And thank you, everybody, for tuning into Digital Trends Live. We appreciate it. Of course, we broadcast live here every weekday, but we got more coming up. So up next, we have Jeff Elholm. We're going to talk about drones in the commercial space and industrial space. We're going to see a lot of drones coming up, and actually, it's a good time for a lot of different ways to invest in this. We'll talk about that, and we've got, of course, Between the Streams on the way with Ryan Juanita having his farewell show here from Digital Trends. So that's all coming up. Stick around. Back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live. This is Digital Trends Live. I'm Greg Nibbler. Appreciate everybody who joins the show. And don't forget, you can share it. Let other people know about it. We've got all kinds of segments and interviews and different things you can follow along with. So let other people know about that on whatever platform you're on, and hit that subscribe button too. So let's continue on here with the show, though. We have some conversations to have about drones. Now, obviously, we've seen a lot of drones out there so far in the consumer space, but where else are they going? And that's what we're going to discuss in part right now. To do so, we have an expert who's joining us. We have Jeff Alholm, the CEO and co-founder of Digital Aerolis. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. It's Digital Aerolis.
Aerolis, yep. Digital Aerolis. And so let's talk about Digital Aerolis and just everything that you've got going with that to give everybody kind of a little bit of context.
Sure. So Digital Aerolis is currently a drone provider. We're really an autonomous technology business, and we're focused on primarily confined space, GPS denied, external sensor denied environments. We sell primarily to the energy, the mining industry. A number of our drones are in nuclear reactors, confined spaces, industrial inspection, places. Basically, we fly where other drones cannot. Simple as that.
So, and that's an important side of, just as we see drones being utilized in so many different ways. Obviously, you're at the forefront of this, of figuring out how drones can be utilized in certain situations that we wouldn't normally expect them to be. And I guess to give everybody a little bit more context too, talking about drones, we're used to the consumer space. I'm sure everybody's seen a drone or knows somebody with one, but what are some of these other use cases that drones are being utilized for?
Well, I recently heard a large industrial customer who has hundreds of drones they use in confined spaces. And they had just said, look, we see our business of replacing even the step ladder. So if you have an inspection to do that requires a step ladder, why not provide a confined space drone to go and do that? So, it's driven by safety. It's driven by cost reduction. So like on the videos the viewers are seeing now, they would normally have to put scaffolding to inspect any of these environments. And you can't use a traditional drone. It's just not stable enough to do imaging with high enough quality that you can do, actionable engineering decisions. Flying under a bridge, this is all but impossible for anybody but us. So here we're flying between rafters. Even the magnetics of a bridge prevents other drones from even taking off. But we've spent a small fortune developing what we do from scratch. It's really the software and the math behind what we do that makes the magic happen.
Well, and looking at that, clearly that's something that previously, if you had a person doing that, that's not only dangerous, but also very hard to get probably some of those viewpoints that you're able to get with the drones. And just the the one video taking a look there at the bridge. What are some other ways that you're seeing drones as we go forward, and with technology like yours, that's able to fly near the metal and things like that? What are some other ways you see it being used?
Well, I'm old enough that I remember the early days of Wi-Fi and smartphones, which I had my foot into, and we couldn't even imagine the applications for what smartphones were going to be used for. And so in some ways I feel, it's the sound of the bat. I've heard this sound before. I can't describe it exactly, but every time I step in with a customer, I learn a new application. I would comment that even in our own side, we have a large warehouse here, and someone with an office back in the warehouse was complaining they didn't have an internet wire. And next thing I knew, one of our pilots had tied, an internet wire and pulled it to the office through our 20-foot ceiling plenums and dropped to the other side. Is that an application we've seen our other customers do? No. Do I imagine that's what the future holds? Sure. I was talking to a guy this week, and he does inspections of warehousing outdoors in Phoenix. But now the customers are coming to him and saying, hey, when I finish my warehouse, I want you to come back every year and do my sprinkler heads or other inspections. And they want him to fly between the box and a box. So there's a bigger warehouse and offices are a smaller box. We do that here. We had a roof leak here one time, and we flew the drone to find the leak for our landlord. And what he was prepared to do was to kick us out of our offices and put a 20-foot ladder up or 30-foot ladder with the right tilt to go find the leak. we found it in a matter of a few seconds or a few minutes. I mean, once we got above the ceiling, but we didn't have to take any tiles down. We just flew from the open into the box.
Wow.
So it's, it's a different world. Our clients tend to be, relatively what's called price inelastic. They need, they have real problems. So they can't send people safely into that. We're seeing more and more in the power industry. They have to get into underground vaults or even into transformer stations. And there's hundreds of thousands of these in the U.S. that are arguably not being fully inspected. And increasingly, we're concerned about the safety of putting individuals into those environments. So this becomes a safety issue. There was one recent market study, and you'll forgive me, I don't remember if it was Price Waterhouse or Morgan Stanley, but one of the two did a market study, and all they did was look at how drones, and even confined space drones, are going to reduce the cost of everyday life and increase, the safety margin. That's what drives our customers. I mean, just this week, I just got back home yesterday, early in the morning, and I spent my whole week talking to people who have just really burning need to inspect difficult environments.
And I think that's just such a great use case of something like that. It keeps people safe, if there's dangers for humans, but also you can access places that even humans couldn't get to with these kinds of drones.
That's right. I can fly into a pipe, and I have to be careful how I mask the identities of some people. But, think of our, the borders around the United States or other countries. I mean, people are digging under our borders. You don't want to send an agent into those holes, right? You just don't. And I mean, there are thousands and thousands of thousands of documented, holes, or a disaster area. The video right now, this was flooding by where we live in Kansas City. And, one of our pilots is from this part of where the river is. And she went out there and flew for a friend to inspect for damage that they had on their inventory side of a major, construction company. Now, you could do that with a traditional drone up until you have to fly into the box or other things. And then that's our thing. So, and again, the other neat part about our technology, which is, wacky complex, meaning that we've written it from scratch, multidimensional operators using advanced math that very few people in the world know. We're able to make those transitions from outdoor to indoor spaces stable. We're able to be instantly on. So the camera powers up slower than the drone turns on and self-calibrates. Our drone calibrates and turns on so fast that as a party trick, you can actually throw our drone in and it will turn on and self-stabilize before it hits the ground. People have spent tens of millions of dollars in previous startups advertising that feature. And for us, it's an everyday party trick. So we can just do that. Well, our customers, it's more of a party trick, but yeah.
Well, talking about party tricks, actually, now I have to ask you, since you have these drones, you've been in this space for so long, what's the coolest party trick you've ever done with a drone out, at an event that you're at?
Every time a customer comes to us, there's kind of a new party trick, I watch our pilots do. So, recently we were flying for an unnamed group, let's go with that. And they asked if we could loiter up on a perch and just watch things. And I never really thought about that the magic of our technology allows you can balance it on a beam and you can go to lunch. And the thing is constantly self-adjusting, and you come back and it's still there. And the pilot who did this came back to the office to show people, and we were all talking about it. And she literally went to lunch, forgot about it, came back an hour later, and the thing was barely turning its motors on enough just to hang in this unstable position on this perch. And again, that's part of the magic of what we do. Throwing is always very cool. We recently went to CES somewhat on a whim, and we had a large flying space. And we drew almost 10,000 people to watch us. And our pilots were, they can spin it on their finger like it's a basketball. They can do the hand launch. They can do the hand catch. For our bridge clients, they really have to do the hand catch. So you just fly it and you just grab it, right? and then it automatically knows when you flip it upside down, that's a nonlinear, what we call nonlinear instruction to tell it to turn off. These are things, you really can't do with a normal drone. Our drones in mining applications, they not only fly stably, but they automatically in their table figure out the ventilation winds and adjust for this. So now you can take your hands off the control, and without GPS, it's through the magic of our technology figured out wind. It can tell the difference between a person, a wall, and wind, all resistive to the device, but all different behaviors. So the subtleties of what we do, if you really have these problems, you look at it and you drop your mouth. Because everyone tries doing this with a standard, Chinese drone, and it can't do any of these tricks.
Right.
They think it can. Then they get in the real world and it can't.
And with yours, you can. Well, I mean, clearly there's all of these valuable things that you're doing in industrial and commercial, but obviously maybe now you've got another market where you can rent out some of your pilots to go to parties and showcase your drone technology. Like, that's a whole nother market for you.
That's a whole market, sure.
Well, I want to say thank you so much for joining us, too, to talk about this. It's always fun to talk about new technology and just the way, and especially people who have been in it for so long that have all this knowledge. And I want to let people know where they can go to learn more about your products. What's the best website for them?
So digitalaerolith.com. So AEROLUS. So digitalaerolith.com.
Nice. Well, thank you so much for joining us here today. What a fun conversation.
Thank you very much. It was charming to meet you.
All right, and thank you to everybody who's joining us here, too. We really do appreciate it. I know we need to get to a break because we've got another edition of Tech Briefs. Coming up, we've got Ken Young from Flipboard. He's going to join us to talk about the biggest news in technology from this last week. So stick around back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live. This is Digital Trends Live. Thank you for joining us wherever you're watching. We do appreciate it. And it is Friday, which means it's time for another edition of Tech Briefs, where myself, Greg Nibbler, and Mr. Ken Young from Flipboard try to give you the information in as 10-minute-y as possible. I don't know if that's a word, but I just made it up. About some of the big news that has gone on in tech this week. Ken, hello.
Hey, Greg. Nice to see you again.
Good to see you, too. Happy Valentine's Day, Ken.
Aw. See, I didn't wear a suit and tie for you because I didn't want to, I wanted to match with you today.
Thank you. I think that was an underhanded compliment, but I appreciate it nonetheless. All right, let's talk about some news. So we have a lot to get to here. Certainly to start off, we have to address MWC, which is huge. Mobile World Congress, in case anybody doesn't know, this is the biggest smartphone convention all year long. 100,000 people descend upon Barcelona for all of these reveals that all of these smartphone manufacturers and really just mobile technology, wearable technology, everybody is there. But as companies started backing out, MWC and the organization that actually runs it made the call to cancel it. And the reason is because of the threat of the coronavirus. There's no denying the coronavirus. It's a terrible thing that's happening. There's a big humanitarian issue. But, since we're talking about tech, it's also a huge effect on technology. And with this thing getting canceled, we don't really know what the fallout's going to be for all these companies.
Sure. Yeah. And look, I totally agree. This is going to be a big impact on the world, both societally and economically. And of course, since we're sticking with the tech angle here, this is MWC is usually if not the biggest event for the mobile industry to kind of really unveil what they have coming out in the next year or so. And there is going to be a lot of hype around these devices, whether it's going to be foldables, 5G, and the like. But then with the threat of coronavirus, there was a lot of hesitation about whether or not people wanted to go to this thing. And a lot of companies started to pull out gradually, and then more and more companies, big name companies, said they were withdrawing, and they would say they would, instead of attending at a really highly attended event like MWC, they're going to hold smaller events later on. Maybe some will hold hold live streams instead to demonstrate to unveil their latest products. Samsung just had theirs earlier this week, which we'll be talking about a little bit later on. But I don't know if they have not yet said whether they will continue to attend. Intel, Ericsson, AT&T, Facebook, and a whole bunch of other companies have said, look, we're not going to hold events there. Huawei is currently supposed to hold a press conference there, but it seems like there's not going to be, if there will be an event there, it will not be MWC officially. It'll be smaller piecemeal events as it were. So this is certainly going to, like, people are wondering whether or not what's going to happen to MWC moving forward, and how does the coronavirus impact future gatherings, such as maybe next year's CES or IFA in Berlin, or E3 or South by Southwest, all these other things. But I think a lot of companies are taking it upon themselves to say, look, we're going to put our customers and our employees first and foremost. Now, coincidentally, according to the Associated Press yesterday, Spain said, look, MWC's claim about the canceling the event for health reasons isn't really true. But they haven't really come forth with an alternative reason why GSMA, the organizers behind MWC, would put it off. So, I think from a legal standpoint or whatever PR standpoint you want to look at, it's kind of up in the air. But officially, quote unquote, officially, right now, it is going to be due to coronavirus that the organizers said it made it impossible to actually hold this event.
Yeah, I mean, I think even, on the record or off the record, it's definitely coronavirus that caused this to happen, and the threat of it. But yeah, as far as the official declaration, there's a whole lot that's wrapped up into that as well, because you have insurance. That's an issue. MWC wants that to kick in, because if Barcelona or the government declares that, then they get some money back. And by the way, this event's estimated to have about a $500 million impact on Barcelona. So it's tremendous economic issues that come down just for the city itself. But going forward, we'll have to see for all these tech companies, how are they going to unveil their products? I mean, they spend a year probably preparing for these presentations at MWC. So what's going to happen next? A lot of unknowns associated with all of this, but we'll have to just stay tuned to follow along with it. And you can do that at Flipboard and, of course, digitaltrends.com. But we need to go on to the next thing, which you brought up, which is Samsung. So Samsung already held their event. It was in San Francisco, so not Barcelona. And they had their Galaxy Unpacked event, where they unveil some of their flagship phones for the year. And we'll get to the flagship standard ones here in a minute, but they did unveil their new foldable device, and it's called the Z Flip, and it's actually in that clamshell style, so very similar to the Motorola Razr, but released just a little bit after it and for $100 cheaper. So the Z Flip, I do personally, I like this kind of use case of the foldable device. I think it hits kind of nostalgia factors. It's a neat phone. It folds down. I think when it's completely open, it's about 6.5 inches, 6.7 inches when it comes down to it. So it's not a huge phone to begin with, but it does fold down into that really square, pocket-sized device. It's got a little bit of a screen on the front, like a 1-inch screen that you can answer phone calls for. It also works as a viewfinder for the camera. Overall, I think the design is really fascinating. The actual internals of it, to make it cost $1,400. I don't think that's quite there. I don't think it's really a flagship phone when it comes to the functionality, but design-wise, I think they did a good job on it.
I agree, and after just minutes after the event ended, Samsung Impact ended, there were a lot of people that I spoke with that actually said, look, they wanted to have this phone, and the phone is available now for purchase. The reviews are going to come out probably a little bit later on, maybe this weekend or within the next week. Initial impressions have come out. I know that Digital Trends has done a hands-on, and that's available online. But this is going to be an interesting device. I kind of like the style about it, but yes, the cost is something to be concerned about, whether or not I'm willing to pay the $1,400 for this device. Look, I think this is if anything, it's like my S10 or the S20 if I decide to upgrade. That will, but it's just more of a compact fashion, and I get why this has an appeal for some people because phones are dramatically bigger these days. And, people that have pockets or people that don't have access to pockets or, bags or anything, they just don't want to carry on this clunky thing that kind of really protrudes out of their that you notice on through their pants or their jacket pocket or whatever. So this is kind of, it's a little bit more inconspicuous. It's a nice fashion. It's a nice form factor. It's kind of bringing back with what the Motorola Razr has been. The reviews for the Motorola Razr haven't been that stellar. But right. What you notice between the Motorola Razr and Samsung, at least in the initial glance, is that the specs on the Z Flip are going to be better in terms of the camera, the display, and just overall software compared to Motorola. Motorola isn't really known for building premium devices. But Samsung is, so it's really nice to have them do that. Whether or not right. I'm paying for again $1,400 for this when I can pay $1,300 for the Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra, the top of the line. Right. I don't really know if that extra $100 is going to convince me. It's a nice. I mean, I really do want to take a look at the Z Flip a little bit more. And especially to see how that hinge works and that that foldable glass display that they have.
And one thing with that too, there is a crease on that, and they actually put that as a warning, like, oh no, the crease is just part of the experience. So they still haven't quite got rid of that yet either. But yeah, the difference between the Motorola and the Z Flip, it'll be. I think the Motorola is going to face some stiff competition with this for that market that wants to go for these. Though I do like Motorola's screen on the front. I think that form is actually a little bit better than the Z Flip, but we'll have to see. I know we're about out of time, so you did mention the S20s. We'll just say that. The S20, the flagship line, as always, they're pretty stellar phones. Interesting, they're all coming out as 5G, so that's something of note. So it'll be all 5G phones this year coming from Samsung for that end, for that high end. So they're all going to be enabled with that. We'll have to see what Apple does in retaliation. Maybe they won't do any 5G. And then the only other thing, too, that I want to call attention to is the Galaxy Buds Plus, which kind of fit this really neat mid-level in between probably the Echo Pods and the AirPods. $150, 11-hour battery life, though. That's one of the key things with that. So a little bit more there from Samsung on the Galaxy Buds. We're about out of time. Ken, any quick thoughts on the Buds?
Look, I mean, I think in general, what we didn't talk about is the integrations. Look, I think there are a lot more native integrations with this. Samsung really wants to make this the next generation type of device. I mean, they talk about skipping 11 through 19 basically as being they want to build a new foundation on the next mobile devices. So the S20, look, you have the Netflix, you have Forza Street coming out on there. You have a Google Duo with a nice little video voice chat integration there. And of course, you have Spotify with the earbuds. And naturally, I want to put a plug with Flipboard TV, which is on premium video on demand service, which will be available exclusively on the S20. That's also going to be available. So there's a lot more native integrations, exclusivities with the S20, which is very notable as you talk about 5G. And one more thing is nobody's really talking about the camera specifically. Like, these are maximum cameras that you could possibly have on there. The 108 megapixel camera on the S20 Ultra is not necessarily the first of its kind. Huawei has one on there. I believe Huawei actually might be Xiaomi. But look, this is what Samsung's doing is future-proofing their devices. So not only will you be able to produce high-quality images, but you'll be able to record 8K videos and stuff that will be able to be viewed in high quality for many, many, many years to come. The interesting thing is to look at how they're managing to create sharper images with their software, and that's putting them in direct competition with what Google has with the Google Pixel. If you recall what they've been touting at Google I/O years ago.
Yeah, a lot to actually unpack there, and there is, of course, great reviews at Flipboard and, of course, digitaltrends.com where you can take a look. I think next week, let's hit on Flipboard TV a little bit more, too. We'll give people a little bit more of a preview of what that's going to be. Ken, as always, thanks for being here. Talk to you next week.
Thanks, Greg. Appreciate it.
And don't forget to hit subscribe to the podcast, too. Wherever you get podcasts, subscribe, Tech Briefs, and we'll keep you up to date with what's going on. So much to back in such a little time. I got to get to a break because coming up next, we have Pamela Weber from 99 Designs. She is the COO of them, so we're going to talk about different design platforms and how you can connect people that way. So that's coming up next. Stick around, back in a minute with more Digital Trends Live. This is Digital Trends Live. I'm Greg Nibbler, and thank you for joining us. And of course, we'd like to talk about technology trends here on the show, if I can even speak myself. But that's because I'm so excited for our next guest. So here at Digital Trends Live, we get the opportunity to interview some really great people who are very knowledgeable in the technology space, and that's what we're going to talk about right now. We have Pamela Weber, who is the COO of 99 Designs. Thanks so much for joining us.
Hi, Greg. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate you being here, and I was fascinated reading about what we're going to discuss today, just about what some of these trends are online, and really some information I did not expect. And I wondered if we could get into this, and maybe you can talk about what it is that 99 Designs does here every year with this information that you gather.
Sure. Well, just to give you some context on 99 Designs, so we're a global creative platform that helps clients and designers work together to get designs they love. And because of that, we end up working with a lot of entrepreneurs who are starting their businesses. We help people get logos, their websites, their email templates designed, a whole breadth of products. So we have good insight into what are new and emerging industries. And so we've been doing a study over the last couple of years where we look at our platform and see what industries are emerging. And we do that by identifying where we're seeing fast growth.
And I think that's such a great way to do it because you have such insight to all of this that's going on and to see what some of these are. And the third year in a row, I'd like to get into it too and just talk about what some of these trends are, what some of these emerging markets are.
Sure. So we've identified 4 trends this year. One of them, and they're all actually under the larger umbrella of global health and wellness. And that is apparently a $4.2 trillion industry, so massive. And it is a very broad definition as well. But the trends we identified were, one, biohacking. And so the way to think about biohacking are things like hydrating IVs or intermittent fasting. So those things that, people are looking to help kind of maximize their physical and mental performance.
And I was just going to say, yeah, biohacking is certainly something I've definitely been seeing a lot more. I've noticed it myself, even some of the interviews that we've had with people where they're figuring out different ways to utilize tech or analyze. Maybe it's just because they have more access to data about the human body, so they know how to start manipulating things. But that's interesting that it's really growing that much.
Yep, we're seeing that. And we've seen growth 71% year over year and 445% since 2015.
Wow. Yeah, that's tremendous growth in biohacking. And I want to know out there too, it's always fascinating to me to see what people are doing. I'm like, I don't know if I would want to do that, but
I know. I don't know if you look at some of these spas, but as you know, we were looking at the industry and trying to understand what is this biohacking stuff. There are these spas where you can go in and sit in like negative 30-degree temperatures for a minute at a time, and really some things that you might look at and say, that seems like physically uncomfortable.
Yeah, at a minimum. All right, so biohacking definitely growing. That's an interesting trend.
Second industry. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. I was just going to say, what were some of the other big trends going after that?
So the second industry we identified as astrology. And this was quite surprising to us as we dug into it deeper. Apparently, astrology is a $2.1 billion industry. And what we saw over the last year was a 127% increase in growth and 209% over the last, since 2015. And we've even seen, maybe you've seen in the news that there have been companies that have gotten venture capital funding. So there is, validation for demand in the market, or rather validation from investors that there is demand in the market. And you maybe have heard of an app called Sanctuary, or another one called CoStar, which gives you your daily astrology reading. And there's also a group that we've worked with called Astro Twins, and they do celebrity readings, astrology readings for celebrities.
Wow, $2.1 billion industry. That is crazy. And that's the astrology-related businesses, and that's
astrology-related, yes.
Wow. I got to get into the astrology game apparently. So, so there's that. So biohacking being a big trend, astrology-related businesses being a big trend. What were the two other ones that you had?
Yeah. So the third one was cannabidiol products, and these are products that are made with the plant cannabis, but they don't have the same, shall we say, psychotic-inducing effects that pure cannabis leaves have. And the reason why these have kind of made their way into these mass market or into the market is because they have been shown to help with things like anxiety, calming natures. And so we've seen these a lot in beauty products, for example. And we saw last year that grew 61% on our platform. And since 2015, it grew 1,568%. So
wow.
It has been crazy growing. There's some beauty products in Sephora, one called St. Jane that's fairly popular. So you'll probably have seen some of these, and if you haven't already, you're going to start seeing them in, I think, your local drugstores.
Well, and that's, I would have to think that maybe in part is just because of the legalization of marijuana in general in so many different states.
Absolutely. Yep. So, as you know, there's been, legislation that's been passed. I think it's 38 states now where it is legal. And even if it's not considered legal in the state, it's legal to take it, to purchase it in a state and take it across state lines. So yes, absolutely. The kind of changing in government regulations has helped that industry explode.
And I would guess that's going to continue that way. And what was the last one too that you had?
And the last one, sure, vegan, or maybe more specifically, meatless meat. So, we've seen the Impossible Burger show up at Burger King, and that industry grew 20% last year, but since 2015, that was at 214% growth. And again, in your local grocery stores, I'm sure you've seen a lot of these products come onto the shelves. There's another company called Finless Fish, I believe. So that's sort of meatless seafood, if you will. Finless Foods. Meatless seafood.
Wow.
that we grow a lot on our platform.
Yeah, I mean, and I would expect that's another thing too, because like you said, we've seen the Beyond Meat, the Impossible Burger, now meatless fish. There's even that one I saw that it's meatless, corned beef. Like, there's all kinds of different things that are out there right now.
I mean, it really is fascinating. Just go to, one of your local wellness grocery stores, and you will see, kind of entire sections of, either the frozen food sections or in the refrigerated sections with kind of things that you never thought possible could be meatless are such.
Well, Pamela, I want to say thank you so much for joining us here to talk about, these different trends that you have. And I want to direct everybody to where they can go to find out more about 99 Designs.
Sure. So you can go to 99designs.com. That's 99designs.com. And you can see all sorts of designs that are being developed in these emerging industries, as well as your obviously very standard industries and common business industries.
Well, it's fascinating stuff. And thank you so much for joining us here to share that information with us. It was a great conversation. Really appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks, Greg. Have a great day.
You too. All right, and thanks to everybody who's joining us here along for the show. So we are along for the ride, because coming up next, though, it is a bit of a bittersweet moment, but we're still going to get you some information. So our own Ryan Juanita is going to be leaving Digital Trends, heading off on tech adventures elsewhere, but he's here for one last Between the Streams. Will this be the one where we jump the shark? You'll have to stay tuned to find out. Back in a minute with more Digital Trends Live. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Digital Trends Live. Thanks for joining us here. If you follow along with this show, you know that every Friday we have a segment called Between the Streams with Mr. Ryan Juanita, who joins us here every single day. And as I said at the beginning of the show, I know it's Valentine's Day, but unfortunately, we're going to have to break some hearts, because Mr. Ryan Juanita is heading off to other pastures, other tech worlds, other than Digital Trends, starting next week. And despite how many times we have done this show together, you're saying goodbye to it.
I think I'll miss you the most, Scarecrow.
That was just weird. I don't know what that one was.
We've been doing this show for what, 4 years?
Something like that?
Yeah, it's been a long time. I am really gonna miss it, but I am humbled. I am melancholical.
I don't know. You're just gonna make up words here. You just don't even care anymore.
But it is bittersweet. I'm excited about new opportunities, but of course this is my home, and it's been so fun doing the show with you.
It's been awesome doing the show with you.
Let's do it one more time.
Let's do it. Let's get it together. Let's pull it together right now and try to do this. Let's talk about what's trending.
Yeah.
And that is Stranger Things. So if you woke up today, you probably saw everybody posting it. There's a new Stranger Things trailer for season 4, and they already answered the big mystery from season 3.
Yeah, and if you haven't seen 3, you're like double spoilered.
Yeah.
Right?
Sorry.
Like now you know that Hopper was gone, and now you know that he's back.
Boom, he's back. Yeah. And so
there it goes.
There it is. Yeah, but showcasing them.
This was the least spoilery spoiler, though. It's like, who didn't know? There was that whole scene. Unless you just turned off the last season early, like you knew. So it's fine.
Yeah, it's exactly. It's fine.
They weren't trying too hard.
So so getting that back, we didn't get a release date, but I'm going to guess that it might be the summer.
Yeah, and there's not much here aside from we know that they're in Russia. We know that Hobbi's back. But I did find it interesting. I was reading somewhere that they said the interesting part here is that we do know that they're going to expand the world.
Okay.
They've been trying to get out of Hawkins for a while and
right.
haven't
How much
quite
more can happen
done
in
it.
this one town?
Right. So I think this could be interesting to see how expansive it is. Maybe it'll just be in Russia and then it'll quickly come back to Hawkins, or maybe it'll be like push it worldwide that this phenomena is happening more broadly. It's going to be interesting to see what they want to or what they can do with it.
That's how you get spin-offs.
That's right. That is exactly how you get spin-offs.
Spin-off territory. That's where we're entering. So
I would love that.
The new trailer there, so definitely check that out if you haven't seen it.
I'm sure Netflix would love that.
Yeah, I'm sure they would. And we've got a whole article at digitaltrends.com. Something else we got to see for the first time, and that is the new Batman. Yes, the Robert Pattinson Batman. And they released kind of a teaser image, like a teaser video.
Much.
It's kind of weird. It's very dramatic.
It was red, so
very dramatic.
It looked like he had a red Batman suit on. Obviously, it was just the lighting.
Yeah.
Batman suit looks cool.
Yeah.
It always does.
Yeah.
It's a cool new one. I'm always interested to see the new one, and he looked like Batman.
He did look like Batman. We had a Batman suit on.
Robert Pattinson is so interesting. He's such a good actor, but he's so honest. So he got in trouble by saying, like, Batman's not really a superhero at this one point, and then people freaked out, and he's like,
what are you talking about?
Yeah, how dare you, sir? And he's like, and I think he's just trying to say that, he's different because he doesn't actually have inherent superpowers and all that kind of thing.
He's just rich.
Right. And he's, and he's really good at Kung Fu, and that's fine
right.
too.
Yeah.
But, so then he comes out and says, well, you feel very powerful in the suit, but you feel less powerful when 5 people have to put you into it and squeeze your buttocks into this thing. He said, so I always find it interesting to follow Pattinson interviews because he just kind of says what he says and doesn't really hold anything back.
I kind of like that. No,
he doesn't care if he's cool. He just kind of goes for it. So.
Well, he's Batman. I mean, that's pretty
cool.
Yeah. I mean, who cares at that point?
And we talked about this too. He was like doing all these indie movies, and for a second there, he was talking about this in a recent interview too, that he was unemployed. Nobody was calling. He had a few months maybe or whatever where he just didn't have a job lined up. And as an actor, there are always more people coming in, and it doesn't matter how big you are, you can and often will be forgotten, and then you'll have to have your renaissance, as we like to talk about so much on the show, like the gold blue-assance, for instance.
Oh, no. Are you declaring one? Are you walking off declaring an assance?
Patinaissance?
Oh, he did it. Nobody thought he was going to do it.
But, then he gets Batman, and then he gets a freaking Christopher Nolan movie, so he's not going anywhere for a long time.
He's doing all right. Yeah. Declared it right here. Patinaissance.
Patinaissance?
Patinaissance? I don't know. We'll work out the math later on. All right. Let's go on to something else.
Speaking of somebody coming back, yeah.
Yeah, right? Oh, it's talking about the streaming television wars. Disney is really going all in on the nostalgia factor, and I don't know what they're doing to get all these people back. Or maybe they're just out of work,
I don't
too.
think these people are doing anything.
They may have been out of work. But Emilio Estevez is back for
I love Emilio Estevez.
I do, too, yeah. But they are going to be, they announced this, there's going to be a Mighty Ducks series that's on, starring Emilio Estevez, and then a couple of other people also are going to be in it. And it's 25 years after the Mighty Ducks. And it's going to involve a different team. Apparently, the Mighty Ducks are bad now. They're the big team.
I don't like that.
Yeah, so nobody likes that. So there's an upstart mom and her kid who want to form a new team.
With Emilio Estevez?
Yeah, so it's Lauren Graham. Is
he going to be the good guy or the bad guy?
Gilmore Girls. I'm going to guess, I don't know. I think he's going to maybe help the upstarts take down the Mighty Ducks.
So how could he take down the Mighty Ducks?
I don't know,
man. He built the Mighty Ducks.
Well, that's what they want you to tune in for.
Well, and I think there's an irony here as well, because I feel like doing all of those Mighty Ducks movies sort of ruined Emilio Estevez's career a little bit.
Yeah.
And now it's going to be his comeback. So
yeah, why not? Let's do one.
Yeah, let's go for it.
All right.
Let's do a duck.
So I'll do a duck movie. So that's going to be
a Mighty Duck.
A series that's going to be on Disney Plus. You've got that, and then also this one is actually. I don't really care too much about the movie, but the fact that they got him back, Rick Moranis.
After 24 years.
24 years, Rick Moranis hasn't done anything after his wife passed away. He went into kind of retirement, but they are getting him back for another Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
What was that conversation like?
I don't know.
Did Bob Iger fly in and go to his house?
I don't know.
CEO of
And I don't really know how it's going to work, because Josh Gad's going to play the grown son.
Well, I love Josh Gad. So.
I do, yeah. Josh Gad's
He's always
great.
funny.
But how many times can they leave this groundbreaking technology around for people to accidentally hit the button and shrink themselves.
Yeah, I mean, there's some fun things here. Like,
I mean, when you learn your
tech
lesson,
is so much
put a
bigger.
safety switch on it.
Yeah, he really should have put a safety on that. That's a great
Come on.
point. But yeah, I think tech is so much like of a bigger deal now, so they can sort of tap into that. They have a lot better effects, so they can tap into that. So
that's true.
There's a lot to play with there. I mean, it's always been a fun world.
Yeah.
Honey, I Blew Up the Baby was...
That was weird.
Weird.
That was a weird one.
He's a King Kong baby.
Yeah.
That was interesting.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have a little mix of both. I don't know how they're going to work this out, but that is what's happening. So getting Rick Moranis back, I mean, you got to wonder what else they're going to be bringing back at this point.
Pretty groundbreaking effects for that first movie, too. When you watch it, it's like, it looks pretty good.
Yeah.
So that should be fun.
Well, I know there's something else that you wanted to talk about that you thought was pretty good.
I saw Parasite.
Yes.
And for those who haven't seen it, I just wanted to say, there's a lot of Parasites. Okay. But I saw the movie Parasite, and I just wanted to talk about it briefly without trying to put any spoilers out there. But I was very curious as to why this won. You know, I had heard really good things, but I think it was a surprise for most of us that it took Best Picture. But it's really cool because there are a lot of great things about it. It's really of the times. It's I don't think it's too much to say that it's about class warfare. So I think it was the right story at the right time. But it is also just an interesting movie. And as Luke Larson and I were just talking about, he's laughing here.
Sorry, I'm laughing because I'm looking at what's printed below you right now. Anyway, sorry.
Parasite spoilers. They're not spoilers, damn it. Yeah, well, I did say I could just spoil anything I wanted, and I also wanted to swear on the air, but I'm not going to do either of those things because that's not right.
No.
But no, anyway, I think I lost my train of thought here, but basically it's very symbolic. It's a movie that really gets into your subconscious. I had a dream about it last night right after I watched it.
Really?
It's one of the strangest movies I've seen in a really long time in a really fun, interesting way. The characters are good. It's really well acted. And it also has just loads of symbolism, but not heavy-handedly, laced into the script. So it's one of those that you're going to have to watch it a couple times to really get the whole thing.
Yeah.
And the other really cool thing about it is it's really equal parts comedy and sort of thriller. Yeah. They say that right on the label, but sorry, I'm gonna do it wrong. It's like Bong Joon-ho, I believe.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
But anyway, he did a masterful job of sort of walking that line between sort of really spoofy, farcical comedy and really serious thriller. So
all right.
It's really fun.
Well, I want to go see it.
Yeah.
There it is.
See Parasite.
A spoiler-free Parasite review and no punches.
Go see it.
Made it through this. We made it through all of the Between the Streams with no punches that made it on air.
That's true.
And, Ryan, I want to say it's been a pleasure working with you.
Pleasure to be here.
It's been fun. Time. And thank you to everybody who's come along on the ride for this. It's been awesome. We do have a special thing we're going to do here at the very end of the show just so that everybody can kind of watch this and soak in the moment that's happening right now. It's bittersweet, but, you think about the fond memories and the things that have happened over the time and don't focus on the breakups.
That's right.
As we're taking a look at this right here, just to remember some of our favorite moments. I don't think this has ever actually aired, by the way. This is behind the scenes.
I wonder why.
The show.
Me eating almonds in slow motion.
Put this together. The man loves his almonds. Always remember that.
They are Blue Diamond almonds.
Blue Diamond almonds, by the way.
We've got that snappy crunch.
Oh, and there it is right there.
Really leaning into that.
Yeah.
What?
I believe.
Oh my God. I can't believe that. It was a fun ad on the site that we had on the site for a while there.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, lots of people got to see that one.
Yeah, that was fun.
There it is. Some greatest hits of Ryan Juanito. Put that on your reel for your next job. All right.
That is definitely going on my reel.
Oh, there's that too.
Oh boy.
There it is.
My
it's Juanita Sans.
That is.
There it is. All right. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in.
Such sweet sadness.
In the arms of an angel. There he goes. All right. Thank you everybody for tuning in. Again, Digital Trends Live. We're live here every weekday, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern. And of course, we'll be back next week. So I thank everybody for hitting that subscribe button, for joining the show. And thank you once again to Ryan Juanito.
Thank you, my friend, and thank you to everybody in the booth.
Yes, now you throw down your mic and just walk off or turn over the table or something.
Yeah.
All right, we'll see you next week with more Digital Trends Live.